I want to talk about abortion. Give me a few minutes and I will show you, not tell you, I will show you how Democrats means fewer abortions. And why do I say it that way? I am a Christian, I am a woman of faith, and I'm making this video for my fellow Christian friends who are pro-life. I want to talk about why voting for Hillary Clinton should not overburden your conscience, and actually why she's our best pick if we value the vulnerable, specifically women, children, the needy, as scripture says, the least of these. If faith and pro-life drives you, this election there's only one choice, Hillary, and here's why. First, the Supreme Court. If you are voting for Trump because you want to see a conservative Supreme Court, it won't make a difference when it comes to reducing abortions. And here's a fact. Roe v. Wade was decided with a conservative majority court. Planned Parenthood v. Casey was decided with a conservative majority. Over the last 45 years, we have had 10 Senate GOP majorities and 9 House GOP majorities. None of these have ended abortion. 8 separate times, abortion restriction policies were found unconstitutional or failed to pass because of the privacy between a woman and her doctor. So overturning Roe v. Wade is a pipe dream. Let's say you don't want to listen to that reason. Okay, let's see what happens if Roe v. Wade is overturned. It would simply push the issue to the states. Instead of being a federal law meaning countrywide, it would let each state decide, and over half would keep it legal. So while overturning Roe v. Wade would be a symbolic victory for pro-lifers, it wouldn't decrease the number of abortions. Second point, whether you want to believe it or not, numbers don't lie. Pro-choice means less abortion. The last 8 years that we've had a pro-choice president, the abortion rate has dropped to its lowest since 1973, and here's why. This issue is not about a few hours in a hospital room. It's about circumstances leading up to that moment. To ignore them is to not show compassion and empathy for the least among us. It is about the fear of not having another option, not being able to afford to provide for her family, losing her job, not having access to health care. These reasons need addressing. These are the top 3 reasons 75% of women list for why they sought an abortion. And let's look at more facts. George W. Bush took an outspokenly pro-life stance, and yet with him in the White House and with conservative majorities in the House and the Senate, we saw abortions increase. Think about that. If you care about abortion as an issue, it's because you care about children, right? One candidate has shown that her whole life. When Trump was being prosecuted for not allowing Black people into his residential complexes, Hillary was in the South, going undercover to stick it to schools that were refusing to integrate Black and white kids who were lying about it. This is long before she had a daughter or was in any public office. And her work since then has impacted millions of families being able to get the education and health care that they need. In 2014, almost half, 49% of abortion patients made less than 100% of the federal poverty level, which is less than $12,000 per year. The latest collected data from a research institute reported that 3/4 of women cited the reason for their abortion being that they already have children, the inability to afford a child, and that another child would interfere with her ability to provide for her family, meaning she couldn't afford to take work off. And childcare is too much. Most Americans don't have paid sick days, and childcare takes up an average of 30% of low-wage income. And if there isn't any childcare, women are left at home without any supervision. Obamacare has given that support to literally millions of children and families. Our focus should be in creating a culture where there are fewer unwanted pregnancies to begin with. When we make healthcare more affordable, when we make contraception more accessible, and when we support a living wage with affordable healthcare, with affordable childcare, we are supporting a culture where fewer unwanted pregnancies occur. Compassion for the least of these does not have an expiration date. Compassion does not have boundaries. Those same voters who claim compassion for potential life are annoyed when taxes are imposed that help the very families they claim to care for. And even at that, those taxes do not affect them. Compassion and accountability should go hand in hand. If churches and 501c3s are to step in, we must ask for financial accountability. Where is the money going exactly to help people? And remember, government must show us where they spend their money. Churches don't have to. And I have to salute my pastor back in Los Angeles for complete financial transparency in his church. Judah Smith, I see you. So by voting for a pro-choice candidate, you are voting for policies that would alleviate the tremendous burden women across the country feel as if They are the primary income source for their family. Many pro-life politicians oppose raising the minimum wage, oppose ensuring employees receive paid sick leave, and oppose expanding health care to reach everyone, regardless of pre-existing conditions and salary. The abortion issue isn't just a birth issue. It is an income inequality issue. And pro-choice candidates, pro-life candidates are just doing their stance lip service while leaving compassion at the door. When an initiative was proposed to provide free or low-cost diapers to low-income families, conservatives claimed that it was an example of a nanny state. It's not a nanny state. It is a compassionate state that provides for the least among us. It is a pro-family, pro-helping the vulnerable policy. And it was slammed by conservative, pro-life elected officials. And you must ask ourselves, are you pro-life all of one's life, or simply pro-birth? We know for a fact that outlawing abortion does not necessarily reduce abortions. In regions of Latin America, abortions are heavily restricted, but their abortion rate between 2010 and 2014 was 1 in 3 pregnancies. That is a huge percentage of pregnancy. If we look at parts of Africa where abortion is illegal, we find that for every 1,000 women, about 37 abortions take place, compared with about 34 abortions per 1,000 women in parts where abortion is legal. That is about the same, and that is my point. The one common denominator amongst these countries I mentioned, and a vast majority of women in the US that seek out abortions, live in poverty. You cannot advocate for all lives to be born if you don't work to help sustain and protect life beyond the hospital room. Hillary's plans include guaranteeing 12 weeks of paid family and medical leave, expanding childhood education, putting a cap on child care expenses, and expanding special needs care through the Affordable Health Care Act. Does this mean that some taxes increase? Does this mean that some businesses' expenses would rise? Yes. Not for the middle class, not for the least among us who struggle to make ends meet. Because when we employ family members so that we ourselves can make money for our families, we must keep in mind that we all want to love and be loved, to work hard, to keep our kids healthy and safe. Meanwhile, what is Trump's plan? To send a deportation force around the country and tear families apart, to split children away from parents. That is the extent of what he has articulated. Meanwhile, Hillary has worked across the aisle to reform the foster care system, encouraging more adoptions. When you look at facts, when we count the families and the children helped instead of sound bites and emotional reactions, Democrats have been and are better at protecting the least among us in all ways. That is why I'm voting for Hillary Clinton. We have one day. Friends, let's win.